All right, so we're going to talk about number 3B on sequence 1. So they tell you that A8 is 12 and A15 is 61, and they want you to write a rule. So remember, the equation is AN equals A1 plus N minus 1 times D. And in order to write a rule, I need to know what D is, and I need to know what A1 is. All the other ones would stay variables. AN would stay a variable, and N would stay a variable. So if I can find those two, then I can write my rule. Well, I have neither one. So what this is telling you is your eighth number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, is 12. And your 15th number, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, is 61. So I can use this formula to help me find out A1 and D. Now, just because they had given you the sequence like this, that doesn't mean that you can't chop this up and think about the sequence any way you want. So I can say, well, let me consider this as my sequence, in which case this would be my A1 and this would be my AN. So if I think about it that way, I can actually plug those values into this equation and solve for D. So my AN is 61. My A1 would be 12 plus, well, if I start at this one, which is 15 minus 8, I'm going to have 7 differences. So this here would be, well, you'd have like, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. So N would be 8, but N minus 1 would be 7. And then D, because I don't know D. So now if I simplify this equation, 61 minus 12, right, I would get 49 equals 7D. And so now I know D equals 7. So now I know up here, I'm going to add that to my list. Now I know D is 7. So now I've gotten that piece of information. That's great. So now I have to think about, well, what is A1? Well, now instead of thinking about this as my sequence, oops, I kind of erased. I can now think about this as my sequence. And now I'm going to say, well, that's my A1 and this is my AN. Well, if I'm considering this, then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. So in this case, N would be 8. So let's go ahead and fill in what we know there. So AN, I'm saying, is 12. A1 is what I don't know. That's what I'm solving for. Plus N minus 1. Well, we said N was 8, so N minus 1 would be 7. And we already found out that D was 7. So now I have this equation that I can solve. 12 equals A1 plus 49. If I subtract 49 from both sides, I'll get negative 37 equals A1. So now I have A1 and I have D. So now I can go ahead and write my rule. My rule is AN equals negative 37 plus N minus 1 times 7. Well, I'm not going to leave it like that. I can simplify this equation. So minus 37 plus 7N minus 7. And then I can combine my like terms and I can say 7N minus 44. Whoops, you can't see that. There you go. And then this here would be my rule. And you can check your rule, right? If you plugged in 61 here, you should find out how many terms there should be. Or if you plugged in how many terms, if you plugged in that you have 8 terms, you should get 12 here. So you should be able to check your rule to make sure that it works. If you have any questions, let me know.